Briefcase Crimes contains graphic depictions of violent acts, bad jokes, and loud dog noises. It's not intended for all audiences, and listener discretion is advised. Welcome, listeners, to Briefcase Crimes. I'm Hannah, and I'm full of terrifying facts about horrific events.
I'm Liz, and I'm full of morbid curiosity.
Elizabeth.
Yes, Hannah.
You like cults.
Oh, yes. Like, not being in them, but this is so funny because this actually ties right in with a story that I wanted to tell you today.
Oh, well, go ahead.
Okay, so I was talking to my coworker today about, touristy destinations close by. And he asked me if I had been to New Vindabra to the Hare Krishna temple or palace, the Palace of Gold. Yeah. And he was like, oh, okay. He goes, but have you been to the temple or the palace? And I was like, just the palace. There's a temple? And he said, yeah. He said he went there. Hold on. Listen to this.
Okay.
He went and they did the tour, the same tour that we did, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tour guide invited him to lunch. And so they drove down the road to the temple, and he and his friend had lunch. They ate the food there. And they told them when they were there, she was like, oh, yeah, go down, tell them that you're there for lunch, and tell them that you are bringing a plate back for me. So he went down to the temple and they had lunch, which was like rice and curry. And honestly, he had pictures of it. And honestly, it looked really good. I'd have eaten it. And then they sent him with a plate because obviously they don't have takeaway dishes and stuff. They sent him up with a full plate of food to take back to the tour guide. And I was just kind of like, Christian, this is how you join a cult.
Yeah.
And he was like, we weren't thinking anything of it. He was just like, sweet, it's free. All right.
I wonder if we didn't get invited for lunch because there were so many people at our tour.
Either that or I think we may have been there too late in the day.
Yeah, well, that was the first thing we did that day.
I don't remember, though. I don't remember what time it was because he said they do it every day at noon.
I feel like we had a different tour guide, too. I can't imagine our tour guide inviting anybody for lunch.
Right. I told him about, oh, no, you can't kill him. He's God.
He's God. Well, this is... We had just been talking about Mormons, you and I, recently. Yeah. Recently, Elizabeth and I both could not sleep, so we just FaceTimed overnight. Mm-hmm. And that was fun. But in that discussion, we ended up talking about Mormons somehow.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember. We talked about so many things.
But I do remember saying, do you want a Mormon story? And you were like, I sure do.
Yeah.
I know exactly. You know exactly what I love.
Also, I've been getting on my TikTok feed, I've been getting these videos of, I guess it's a reality show. I don't know what network it's on because it's just clips on TikTok. But it's like a reality show where these women help people escape from polygamous cults.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I've been seeing a lot of that stuff too lately.
That's neat.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, you know that Mormonism nowadays, the LDS is what they call it, the Church of the Latter-day Saints. They don't go by Mormon anymore.
Which is pretty much just because they know that
Mormonism has a bad stigma.
Yeah, exactly.
So I read last year, Under the Banner of Heaven. It was given to me by my friend Mel for to read, basically. And it is about a Mormon murder. I didn't cover it today, but it's about a Mormon murder. And in it, they talk a lot about how the LDS sort of rebranded itself and sort of moved away from polygamy, and it talks a lot about like the history of the Mormon church, because that specific crime that Under the Banner of Heaven covers is all about a group of Mormons who are like fundamentalist Mormons, and that's where you get the polygamy.
Right. So
like your typical Mormon isn't supposed to be practicing polygamy.
Right.
Like Mitt Romney's not going to take another wife.
You know what?
Not publicly.
Yep.
Not publicly anyway. This story is another kind of like somebody breaking away from the church and starting their own deal.
Well, good.
No, not good.
Oh.
When I say breaking away from the church, I mean like breaking away because the church didn't want them anymore, so they started their own thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So more like a spin-off.
Exactly, a spin-off religion.
Yeah.
So today we are going to be talking about the Children of Thunder.
Okay, that sounds really dramatic.
It is.
Oh boy.
It is the group that was started by Taylor Helzer.
Okay.
Glenn Taylor is like his first name, middle name. He went by Taylor.
Okay.
So I'm going to refer to him as Taylor through the whole story, but it is his name is Glenn. I also had a little bit of extra time, so I labeled your slides for you.
Oh, wonderful.
Because I'm the best.
You are.
I only had extra time because we pushed our recording back to the evening because I overslept.
That's okay. We're good.
Which
though.
this is a rare evening recording.
Yeah, we don't normally do it.
It's a cozy nighttime story.
Yeah.
So we will begin in Northern California in August of 2000.
I feel like we have a disproportionate amount of cases that had something happen in California.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there are a lot of cases that happen in California just because California is really big.
That's true. It is a huge state.
I don't know. But you're right. This story takes place in California. So in August of 2000, a man on a jet ski he was jet skiing in the Mokelumne River. I hope I say that right. Mokelumne. He was jet skiing and he saw a black duffel bag floating in the river by the riverbank. So he rode over on his jet ski and unzipped it because he was like, what's in this duffel bag?
Right.
Mistake number one.
Yeah.
Do, because then you'll find things that people are looking for, but also, like, you don't want to find it.
Things that people are looking for. That's just so vague.
You know.
Family
members and stuff.
Ooh.
What he found was a human torso.
Again with the torsos.
Well, you're not going to fit a full body in a duffel bag. I
had a really big duffel bag in college, and Kyle definitely could have fit in it.
Kyle could have, for sure. Kyle's very small. Kyle could fit in a lot of things that like a normal-sized person could not.
True.
Your average Joe is not going to fit into a duffel bag.
Okay, fine.
So then, a few hours later on the same day, a marina employee found another bag.
Okay.
That was it was like floating, stuck under a dock. It was a half a mile away from the first bag.
Mm-hmm.
In that one was a head.
Okay. At least they have the head this time, I guess.
Yes. And then there was a marine biologist doing a survey of an island in the river. And he found she found another bag while they were on this river.
Let me guess. A leg.
I don't know what was in that one.
Oh, darn.
Eventually, police were involved, obviously, and they found a total of 9 bags.
Oh my gosh. So, wait,
yes.
Hold on. Let me think. So, we've got a head in one, a torso in another. So, it means we've got 7 left.
You're making a very big assumption.
Oh, no. Okay.
Do you want me to tell you what was in all 9 bags?
Yes, please.
I don't know what was in, like, each bag, but I'll tell you that the 9 bags contained, like, mingled. There were lots of body parts in all the bags. Mm-hmm. And they were all from 3 different people.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I mean, the big assumption you made was that it was one person.
Yeah, that was. No, you knew exactly. I was thinking, goodness, how many pieces are we talking about?
No. Nope, 3 people.
Okay.
And now we're gonna flash back.
Of course.
We're gonna talk. Well, we found these body parts, and now let's talk about how they got there.
Alrighty.
So we start with the Helzer family. In 1970, in Lansing, Michigan, Jerry and Karma Helzer had their first son.
Okay.
And his name was Glenn Taylor Helzer.
Okay.
Glenn Helzer was the oldest brother of 3 children.
Okay.
There was a daughter named Heather and a brother named Justin. The Helzer family were devout Mormons. At some point, they moved to the town of Martinez, which is about 50 minutes from San Francisco.
Okay.
I don't know why they moved from Michigan to California, but
who knows?
They did, and it's not really relevant. The rest of their lives took place in California. Mm-hmm. They had a very normal childhood, according to most people, aside from being like devout Mormons, which isn't typical for most people.
Right.
But they were very active in the church. Taylor was described as being very charming and like outgoing. Mm-hmm. And Justin was a little bit more of an introvert. He was on the wrestling team in high school, and he was a youth group leader in the church.
Okay.
So, like I said, they were involved in the church heavily.
Right.
As I feel like a lot of Mormons are.
Yeah, I get like part of being in a quote unquote, like, I'm gonna call it a cult, quite frankly, because if you're a devout Mormon, you're probably not listening to the show. And also,
that's true.
there are several methods for determining what religions are cults. Mm-hmm. And it scores very high on at least the bite model. Mm-hmm. But anyway, part of being in a cult is it's going to take up all of your time so that you can't consider anything else. Mm-hmm. So
I will also say for things that like aren't cults, but even like evangelical branches of Christianity, it's very expected for you to spend a lot of time at church and be involved in church. Mm-hmm. Like I grew up and I'm still Pentecostal Christian. So, my whole life, my family members have had positions at church. Like whether that be, you're a Sunday school teacher or you're the worship leader or whatever. Mm-hmm. Doesn't necessarily have to be a cult for you to be very heavily involved in it, but I do feel like Mormonism, it is expected that you are very involved.
I'm kind of thinking more along the lines of, for example, with Jehovah's Witness, everything is to come second to Jehovah's Witness. Your job, even your family, comes second to being a Jehovah's Witness. So that's kind of where I'm thinking with that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I don't disagree that this is a cult.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to sound like if you're spending a lot of time at church, you must be in a cult.
Right. Because like my parents were involved in, I mean, even because I was in the choir and everything, like we were involved. We did things and devoted outside time to church. So yeah.
after they graduated high school, you know that Mormons have a requirement where they need to do 2 years in the field as missionaries.
Yep.
And that could be outside of your home country, or that could be inside of your home country. Obviously, if you've been in the U.S., you've probably had a Mormon come to your door. They're on their mission trip.
I have just such a negative outlook on this stuff because in my head, I'm just like, yeah, so you're either a door knocker or a colonizer.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Yeah. I mean, you're a door knocker and a colonizer.
Right.
So they both boys did their mission trips. Taylor spent his 2 years in Brazil.
Okay.
And Justin, the younger one, did his in Texas. So one went outside of the U.S., one stayed inside of the U.S. They were very close brothers. Justin would look up to his older brother, as is often the case with a younger sibling.
Mm-hmm.
And he would seek his approval a lot of the time. Taylor liked this, encouraged this, enjoyed having a close relationship with his brother, and would tell him apparently frequently, I'm number one and you're number two. Like, we're a little team, we're a little group.
That's cute.
Yeah, it's cute out of context.
Your hesitation just said it's not gonna be cute.
No. I'm setting this up for a not cute thing.
I know.
After they were finished with their mission trip, they went back home. Justin worked as a cable installer, and Taylor began work at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter in San Francisco as a stockbroker.
Okay.
I didn't know you could be a stockbroker without a degree.
I never thought about it.
I don't think I would trust just anybody to be my stockbroker.
That's fair.
But this was in the early 90s, so I don't know what the expectation was. I also don't know what the expectations are now. I don't know anything about stocks or brokering.
I don't know anything about it either.
I know nothing. At this time, they're still very involved in the church, and Taylor met a woman that he began dating and asked to marry him, and in 1993, they were married.
Okay.
They had 2 daughters in that time, but 3 years later, they ended up getting a divorce in 1996.
Oh, wow.
The reason that they got a divorce was because Taylor was getting tired of being, quote, a good Mormon and a good husband.
Okay.
His ex-wife, Anne, says, quote, he wanted to expand his life outside of the church. He began feeling the confines of his religion and wanted to try the normal life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mormons cannot drink. They don't even drink caffeine or soda.
Mm-hmm.
They don't smoke. And, like, I don't either. Like,
yeah.
It's aside from caffeine and soda, like, I don't really do anything else. So, like, that's not that unusual. But I guess, like, if you are a devout Mormon and your husband says, I want to start drinking, I want to start smoking.
Yeah.
I want to start doing drugs. Like,
yeah, it's basically like, I want to go and shoot up some heroin. Like,
his idea of a normal life meant he began drinking and smoking and doing drugs and having sex with other women.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's what happens when you ask your wife for a divorce.
Yeah. Anne said that he started wearing all black.
Okay.
And that he started showering less frequently.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know, like, what about this break from the church was like, you know what else? I want to be stinky. Like,
yeah.
I'm just picturing that guy that everybody went to high school with who wore all black and didn't shower.
Thank God I went to an all-girls school.
Oh my God, I forgot all about that.
Yeah. We didn't have one.
That. You didn't even have anybody who could wear all black.
Nope.
Because you had uniforms. Oh my gosh. Our high school experiences were just so different.
But also, if there was going to be somebody who wore all black, it was going to be us.
Yeah. And we all know that you're stinky.
Oh, thanks.
One time when we were in college, Elizabeth was sitting, I think she was sewing, and I was like on her bed or something. And without any sort of, like, she didn't even look at me. She just goes, I'm so stinky.
I could like smell myself. You know, like
how
after
can
a
you
long
stand
day.
me?
But you know, like after a long day, you can like feel it, you know?
Mm-hmm. I hadn't showered for a couple days, and I got a shower today because I was like, I can't stand myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another time in the same apartment, similar story. Liz was sitting there sewing.
My mom is going to be so mad when she hears this.
I think I've told her this story.
Okay, good, because she'd be like, "How could you say that?
That's so mean." Liz was sewing. I had my own sewing set up in Liz's room because we would go over and work on stuff together. So I was sewing, and we had the iron on, and it was on the floor. And I reached down to grab it, and I think I just thought it was sitting a different way or something. But I basically grabbed it by the hot part. Yeah. Like my whole hand.
But and I was like, it's funny because you literally, the handle was facing you. So you had to, like,
I don't know how I did it.
You had to like reach over it to do that.
Like I said, I thought it was sitting a different way, clearly. Yeah. So I burned my hand, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. I just like touched the hot part on the iron. And again, without even looking at me, Liz just goes, and remember, we're both in college. So like, it's a hefty financial experience to be in college. And Liz just goes.
Also, meanwhile, we're sitting in my apartment, which is literally a dorm room. A single dorm room.
Liz just goes, do you ever wonder if your parents are in debt, not because they're sending you to college, but because they pay me to be your friend? Like so mean. And like I said, it's so stone cold because you didn't even turn to look at me. You just said it.
Oh God, the amount of stupid crap we did though.
In that apartment.
In that apartment.
We'll save the maple syrup story for another time.
Okay.
Because I don't want to get too far off track.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we had people at college like this too, though, that wore all black and didn't shower.
We definitely had ones who didn't shower. I'll say that much. Yeah. Anime club. Hello.
It honestly might just be the fact that like he didn't go to college. Like he didn't have that experience of like just being on his own.
That's true. That's true because I'm sure he was young when he got married.
Mm-hmm. Oh. He was born in 1976, and this would have been 1993 that he got married.
Yeah.
So he would have been... I'm so bad at math.
76 to 93? 17?
That feels right. Hold on.
Because 20 would be 97.
We have the man himself in the room. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
We don't have Taylor Helzer in the room. Hold on.
I mean, I could also just pick up a calculator.
Ryan. If someone is born in 1976 and they get married in 1993, how old are they when they get married?
Born in 76?
Yeah.
And they're married when?
93.
And they're 17?
17. Agreed.
I heard him.
We need the math man.
To be fair, I was right.
You were right. But I double checked. The math
Thanks,
man cometh.
Ryan.
Liz says thank you.
No problem.
That's what he's here for.
That's right.
All the math. Yeah. So he graduates high school, goes and does his 2 years in the missions field, and gets married in 1993.
Wow.
Am I right that he was born in 76? No, he was born in 1970.
Oh, my God.
He was 23 when he got married.
Okay.
I was like, how did he do all that and get married?
Yeah.
I don't know where I got 76 from.
Me neither.
He was 23 when he got married. But regardless, he graduates high school, goes and does 2 years in the missions field, comes back, gets a job, and gets married.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he never had time where he was just allowed to be stinky.
But, like, he never even probably lived alone. Like, he probably went right from living under his parents' roof to living in whatever kind of dormitory system they work up for the missionary kids, and then right to living with his now wife, who now ex-wife. But that's, like, one of those things where I am, like, eternally grateful that Scott got to live as like a single 20-something-year-old man for several years, because A, that meant he was self-sufficient, and B, that meant he had time to get all that crap like out of his system.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I live with somebody and I just let myself get stinky.
I mean, me too, but
you can just let yourself get stinky with your wife.
Plus, you're not working as much anymore, so hey.
If you are a person in a relationship, let your partner get stinky sometimes.
Yeah.
Just let them get stinky.
It's
or
fine.
else they're going to leave you.
Apparently.
They're going to leave you so that they can be stinky.
Yeah.
So because of the fact that he was drinking and smoking and doing drugs and having sex with lots of women, the church excommunicated him.
Yep, sounds right.
Yep. They were like, no more. No more. You're too stinky for our church.
Mm-hmm. We only take non-stinky people here.
You can't be a stinky Mormon. I don't know if there's like... I know that Mormons have to wear like special undies.
Yes, they have. I forget what they call them.
Sacred garments, I believe.
They're garments. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if they have like a specific rule system about like how stinky you're allowed to be.
I'm
like
sure
if you
that
have to bathe.
I'm sure they have like a hygiene guideline.
That's odd to me because like obviously I grew up in Christianity and there's nothing even with like Catholicism, it's not like you must bathe.
No, but then like again, I'm just going to bring it back here because it's what I can think of at the moment. Again, with Jehovah's Witnesses, like they are not allowed to grow beards. So when I'm saying like a hygiene policy, yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses are not allowed to have beards.
Why?
I can't exactly remember, but it had to do something with like I know I'm misremembering this, so it vague, take it with a grain of salt. It had something to do with some other like religious leader of either the group that Jehovah's Witness like kind of came from having a beard.
Oh.
And so like in order to like separate themselves from that person, it became a rule.
That stinky bearded person.
Let me Google it really quick.
Okay, did you figure out what's going on with Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yes and no, because it's one of those it's one of those things where the rule is so stupid in the first place. So, I found one thing that had the man who created Jehovah's Witness, he had a really big beard, and then when he died and the next person took over, people like weren't respecting him, and so he forced people to shave their beards, like I'm assuming as like an abusive kind of control tactic. And then I'm also seeing basically where they're just manipulating the Bible.
Because there's like a rule in I think Leviticus about not shaving the like edges of your like the corners of your beard or something.
Right, but they're like they bring it back to like being presentable in the eyes, and they even have like depicted Jesus without a beard sometimes.
Ooh, that just sounds really weird.
It is. There was a photo. It just did not look right. But
it's like when I see pictures of my dad without a beard.
Yeah.
Like my dad has had basically a beard, or I think he had a mustache when I was younger. But like my dad without a beard just it looks alien to me.
Yeah. It says here, this is a quote from the Watchtower, which like the Watchtower Society is like
The Jehovah Witness thing.
police, basically.
Yeah.
So this says, quote, in recent years, this is from 1968, by the way.
Okay.
In recent years, in many lands, a beard or long hair on a man attracts immediate notice and may, in the minds of the majority, classify such a person undesirably with extremists or as rebels against society. God's ministers want to avoid making any impressions that would attract attention away from their ministry or hinder anyone from listening to the truth. They know that people are watching true Christians very critically and that to a great extent they judge the entire congregation and the good news by the minister's appearance as a representative of the congregation.
Oh, since it was the 60s, since it was 68, I wonder if, and they said about that, like
the
hippies.
free love movement and stuff.
We don't want people to look like hippies.
Yeah. So, and then they do mention that, like, yes, you can have one, but it absolutely has to be neatly trimmed.
All right.
So there you go. So that's
anyway.
like an example of a hygiene rule in a cult, at least.
Yeah. Well, he quits. He is showering less frequently. He's very stinky.
Yes.
And
stinky
he does
boy.
grow his hair out. He grows his hair out and wears it in like a ponytail.
Strike number 2. Actually 3 if you're counting the alcohol.
Yeah, I don't know. I assume they're allowed to have ponytails. I don't know.
I don't know.
I know nothing about Mormonism. I grew up, like I said, I grew up Pentecostal, and the ideas within at least my family growing up was you don't need to learn like the specific rules of another religion. You should learn the rules of your religion, and then you'll know if that's not allowed in your religion. Obviously, I've broken that slightly because I'm an anthropologist. So I've taken many classes about religion and I know things like that, but I don't know specifics into the Mormon faith. I also know that Mormons are kind of like, they hold that stuff close to their chest as far as like a lot of like specifics.
Yeah.
Because their stuff is very secretive.
Yeah. Most of what I know about them has more to do with like how they are groomed as children.
Yeah.
And not so much about being in it as an adult.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he's doing all of this. And at this point is when his sister Heather says that he started to formulate his own belief system. And he was arguing with anybody who disagreed. He was, at one point, he and his cousin Shai Hoffman, CHI, he and his cousin got high, and Taylor started telling him that he didn't think that good and evil existed. He thought that was all that was a primitive belief system, and that the majority, he said, quote, the majority of society was stuck in this primitive belief system that there's right and wrong and good and evil.
Okay.
Unquote.
I mean, at a surface level, that almost sounds reasonable.
I guess.
Almost. Because it's like, it gets into the like question of morality, right? And a lot of people argue that without religion there is no morality.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
So like it kind of, to me, it kind of feels like that.
Well, my thing was, it feels like without religion there is no morality, but we know that there is. We know that most people have a moral compass, whether they were raised
Right.
in a religious household or not. So
Right.
my thought as an anthropologist is that he's absolutely wrong. There is a belief system. Like, there is right and wrong do exist to us as basically as humans. You know.
To me, right and wrong is not the same as good and evil.
Oh, explain.
Right and wrong is gray, and good and evil is black and white.
Yeah, I suppose. Because, like you can
it's
have,
a
like, an
spectrum.
anti-hero. Yeah.
Right. So, like, to me, evil is something that only exists with religion, like in speaking in like a binary system, sort of.
Yeah, but would you say somebody like somebody like Robert Durst is evil?
No.
Okay.
That doesn't mean he's good. You know, it doesn't mean he's right.
Yeah.
But I think evil is like, in my brain at least, evil is like a very complicated. It's kind of like a hate is a strong word kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. I would agree with that. I think that you're not wrong. Also at this point, Hoffman, the cousin, had also been in a mental hospital several different times.
Mm-hmm.
And Taylor questioned him a lot about these stays. The Helzer family was sort of the Helzer family had a lot of mental illness.
That's interesting, because seeking mental health treatment outside of the church is a big no-no.
I don't think that the cousin was a Mormon if they're both getting high on drugs.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's like a huge faux pas.
Mm-hmm. Well, they had a lot of mental health issues and had like a genetic history of it.
Sure.
And so Hoffman had been in these mental hospitals, and Taylor was very interested about it, was like grilling him about it.
Mm-hmm.
And Hoffman testified, quote, "There were a few times where he would act out really crazy and then stop and ask, was that how people in the hospital acted?"
Oh. That.
Yeah.
Scott's like dropping stuff upstairs.
I don't know what was fueling this sort of like curiosity into mental illness.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
So part of the reason that I know what I do know about Mormonism is from ex-Mormons.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a Mormon and you're experiencing like these kinds of mental health issues, you get religious counseling, because if that's happening to you, you're not being godly enough. You're not praying enough. You're not doing enough in the church.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like kind of thinking of it from that angle.
Well, at this point, he is completely removed from the church and making his own stuff too.
Right, but it speaks to how he would have been raised around the concept of mental health.
Absolutely, yeah. At this point, though, is when in August of 1998, shortly after this, he took disability leave and left his job as a stockbroker because he was... Some things say he was suffering a nervous breakdown. Some things say he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Okay.
So I don't know
how
much we knew. It could be both.
Yeah.
And like we said before, bipolar disorder, it presents in many different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good or a bad person.
Right.
It just means you have bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
At this time, we will go to our first slide.
Okay.
So this is Taylor Helzer.
Mm-hmm.
And in the picture on the right there, that's Taylor up front on the right, and his brother Justin in the back.
Okay.
The next slide is Justin.
Okay.
3 different hairstyles there.
Yeah, it's like almost 3 different people.
Yeah, but they look so much alike.
Yeah.
Like there's a picture that is normally, like if you Google them, you'll get the left picture here of Justin, this mugshot, and the middle picture that I've put of Taylor, and they're like normally with each other, like next to each other.
Yeah.
And I literally thought it was the same person with just different hair.
Yeah.
Like hair up, hair down. But it's not. They're just really similar looking.
Right.
So he takes disability, starts getting disability, leaves his job as a stockbroker. And this is when he really starts working on his belief system and what he believes in and it starts getting more and more erratic and weird.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts to believe that he is a prophet and that he can receive messages directly from God. Outside of Mormonism, that sounds bananas.
It does.
Inside of Mormonism, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
It's nothing that hasn't happened before.
Yeah. I mean, I know that with Mormonism, you can't just, like, they don't think that just anybody can be a prophet and receive messages directly from God. But, like, that is literally how the leaders of Mormonism are thought to be prophets who can receive messages directly from God.
Yep.
And I don't know.
Joseph Smith.
Yeah. I don't know if it is, I don't know why this is, but in the case I was talking about with Under the Banner of Heaven, the leader in that instance believed he was a prophet who could receive messages directly from God. It's like when they break away, they're like, I'm breaking away, and I'm not just going to not be a Mormon anymore. I am a prophet, and I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to lead it.
Right.
Whatever. This takes us to Don Godman.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn was born in Sutter Creek, which was a small town with a population of 23,000 people. She was a loner in high school, didn't have a lot of friends. She got married at 18, had a son who died shortly after he was born, and then a second son before being divorced after a few years.
Okay.
She wasn't married very long. She lost custody of her son, though, in the divorce because her husband told the court that she had tried to overdose on pills and was living out of a car.
Ooh, okay.
So, obviously, the court's not going to give a child to her.
Right.
So, after the divorce, she moved in with a relative who was living in Martinez, the same place that the Helzers were from.
Mm-hmm.
She got a job at a grocery store, and at this point was feeling very adrift and trying to figure out, like, what to do with her life. So she started attending services at the Walnut Creek Mormon Church, which is where the Helzers also went.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how in the world... I was trying to figure this out, too. The timeline for me doesn't fit here because Justin, Taylor, and Dawn were all at a murder mystery dinner that was being held at the temple on Memorial Day in 1999.
Okay.
That's how they met. But at that point, I don't know when exactly the church excommunicated Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that he would not have been allowed to go to something like this.
Right.
If he were excommunicated. So he must have been excommunicated after Memorial Day 1999.
Okay.
Like, right?
Like, logically, yeah.
Yeah. At this point, Justin Helzer was also wearing all black, like his brother.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know his showering frequency, but he's obviously, listening to his brother, believing in the things his brother is starting to say.
Mm-hmm.
He starts sort of taking after his brother's behavior as well.
Right.
So Dawn goes to this murder mystery dinner and meets the Helzer brothers. Honestly, a murder mystery dinner sounds fun.
We used to do them at the library before COVID happened.
Oh, I want to do that at our library after COVID.
It's a big commitment.
I love murder mysteries.
And it's expensive.
Yeah. If it's good enough for the Mormons.
That's true.
So Don Godman said that, most of the people there were sort of suburban.
Mm-hmm.
And she said they were like the starched shirt and chinos crowd,
Mm.
And so the Helzer brothers coming in all black, they're like sticking out like sore thumbs.
Yeah.
Dawn started dating Justin Helzer, but she was listening to Taylor Helzer.
Mm-hmm.
because he was the leader. He's coming up with this belief system. He is a prophet who can receive messages directly from God.
Right.
Taylor convinced Dawn that she needed to sign up for a self-awareness seminar.
Okay.
She goes to these things for she did 2 of the 3 levels of the program. And then Taylor said, I will run this now for you personally. Like, you don't need this. You need me to do it for you. The next slide here is Dawn. Again, 3 different hairstyles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why their hair changes so much, but it does.
Yeah. Looks like a lot of time passing, too.
Yeah. So after he starts to offer her this guidance, counseling, spiritual, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
at that point is when he's convincing her this entire time that he is a prophet.
Right.
And she's believing it. He takes her on a ride in his car in January of 2000. So the same year as the duffel bags are found.
Okay.
But January, the beginning of the year. He drove her to the Mormon temple in Oakland. And he told her he wanted to start a self-help group.
Okay. That doesn't sound horrible.
He told her the reason he wanted to start a self-help group was to defeat Satan.
Okay.
And that it was his destiny to take over the Mormon church.
Okay.
He would start his sentences when he was getting, like, revelations or whatever. He would start them with spirits telling me.
Mm-hmm.
He told her, according to her, he said, spirits telling me it's time you get to know everything. They were sitting in this parking lot and he said, I'm going to be the leader. I'm going to be the leader of the Mormon church. Even if I need to, I might need to assassinate the church leaders.
Did anybody tell him that the church doesn't run as a monarchy?
It kind of does, though. There are 15, I believe, leaders of the church, and they make all the decisions. Although, even if you assassinate them, it's not like Highlander. Like, if you kill them, it doesn't just go to you.
Exactly.
He asked her in this time if she would be willing to kill in God's name.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, like, outside of Mormonism sounds crazy, but within Mormonism, Joseph Smith has written in the Book of Mormon about how, like, sometimes you've got to kill for, like, Mormons as a religion have a history of being very violent.
Really?
Really, really. If you go back to and look at, like, the history of the Mormon church, when they went out west, they would go on these raids.
Jeez.
And kill and pretend to be Native Americans and stuff. It's very, very tricky stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't think of that, but there's like I'll put a link to a Wikipedia article about, like, the history of violence in Mormonism if anyone wants to read that.
Yeah.
So like I said, outside of Mormonism, this sounds crazy. Inside of Mormonism, it's not that far-fetched. Again, I don't think anybody now that's in Mormonism would be like, oh yeah, I would be so willing to kill in God's name, but there is precedent for it in the Book of Mormon.
Probably another reason why they changed their name, to be honest.
She confessed in court. She testified in court that she told him she would consider it a blessing. Because he's the prophet and he's asking her if she would be willing to do this thing, this wonderful thing that would help him, defeat Satan,
And this is another one of those incidents where I love you, but if you asked me if I was ready to kill in God's name.
If I told you I was a prophet who could receive messages directly from God, I think you'd change your mind.
Probably. Or I might just, seek real legitimate help for you. But
yeah. I would be involuntarily committed.
Yeah.
He told her that he had a plan. Because of being a stockbroker in the past, he had a lot of he had lists of these clients that he would help. Mm-hmm. So he had basically a list of all these rich people. Mm-hmm. And he said, my plan is we're gonna extort money from one or more of these people, and then we're gonna kill them. And that money is gonna go to starting our self-help group.
Sounds legit.
Yeah. Sounds fine. Totally A-okay. She told
business practice.
Yeah, I think that's how Apple started. She testified that he made you feel like you were the most important person on earth, which, again, cult leaders are very charismatic.
The love bombing.
Yeah. That's not an unprecedented thing to hear about a cult leader. If you go to your next slide here, I didn't know where to put this, but this is members of the sheriff's department and the Sacramento County coroner pulling duffel bags out of the water.
Okay.
Again, not really gruesome, but gruesome when you know what's in it. And like I said, I didn't know where to put that. It didn't really, I guess it could have gone first. I don't know. I just felt like it just needed to go here before I started talking about other people.
Hey, follow your heart.
Spirit told me to put it there.
Not that heart.
So he starts receiving these messages from God. He would be with people and he would shush them. Like they'd be talking and he would shush them so that he could get a divine message. Which is just rude. Like,
it really is.
Just shush your friends so that you can have your bizarro fantasy of being a prophet.
I mean, from what I know so far, I wouldn't be surprised if he was really hearing a voice.
Oh, true. Could be. A source says that in May of 2000, he ran out into the rain and raised his hands so that he could receive a revelation, a la Shawshank Redemption. Mm-hmm. Afterward, he said to his friends, quote, "If people aren't loyal to me, I'm just going to have to kill them." Which, like,
great
honestly, same. Honestly, like, that's how I feel with my friends. Like, loyalty or death.
Yeah, absolutely, Hannah.
It's literally ride or die.
I don't know what to say, but yeah, definitely, if that keeps me alive.
No. I don't even have the ability to walk up steps by myself. How am I going to kill somebody? And again, at this point, he's just getting worse. He starts writing what he calls the 12 Principles of Magic, which are his sort of rules of his new religion.
Okay.
Among those, like, these principles of magic, there was I gain control by losing control, and I am already perfect, and therefore I can do nothing wrong. Which, honestly, same.
Are you okay?
No, clearly not. He had his younger brother and Dawn memorize these 12 principles of magic. Mm-hmm. Oh, also at this point, Justin, and Dawn are all living together. Mm-hmm. They live in a house together.
I would just like to note that he had to have 2 more commandments than God.
Well, yeah. He doesn't. Yeah, I mean, we don't know that those weren't the last 2. You know, thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not steal. Also, I am already perfect and therefore can do nothing wrong. Those were the other 10 principles. He just plagiarized God.
Yeah.
Let us take an ad break now, I think.
Sounds good.
I think this would be a good place for an ad break. So please enjoy this ad. And we are back. Hope you enjoyed that ad. It was us.
Mm-hmm.
was us talking to each other.
In case you didn't know who we are.
I know. Yeah, that wasn't it. Those weren't actors. Those were us.
Yeah.
We're talking about his self-help group now.
Right.
He's already done his Principles of Magic. Now we're on to the self-help group.
Okay.
He said it would be called Impact America.
Okay.
And the extortion plan was not his only plan to get money for this.
Well, thank goodness.
Because it's not a good plan.
It's not.
Here are his other plans. Maybe you'll like one of these better.
All right. I'm going to rate them 1 to 5.
Okay, where are you rating the extortion plan?
I'm going to say the
extortion and murder.
So 5 being the best.
Yeah, like the best thought out.
I'm going to give that one a solid 2. It would have had a higher score if it hadn't ended in murder. So
you're okay with extortion?
Well, extortion is slightly less illegal than murder.
Okay, that's fair. So one thing that he would do, his plan, is he was going to set up a subsidiary and call it Intimacy. And this subsidiary would sell drugs and sex workers at these parties that he would run. So his plan is, I'm going to throw parties and I'm going to give wealthy businessmen basically sex workers and drugs. And then after these sex workers have seduced married businessmen, we'll blackmail them into giving us money.
He always takes it like a step too far.
Well, how are they going to get money?
There's a lot of money to be had in selling drugs and sex work.
Actually, here's the thing. I mixed two things together.
Oh, okay.
So that's one plan. The plan of just the sex work and the drugs, that's one plan.
That one is going to be a solid 3. If there had not been sex work, again, it would have been higher because including the sex work just adds a level of trafficking that I'm not comfortable with.
Okay. Well, to sort of like recruit women, he was trying to like find sex workers. He would go to these raves. Justin, and Dawn would go to these raves and hand out flyers. And be like, are you interested in some shady sex work?
Yeah, still a 3.
Okay. Next scheme. The married businessman blackmail scheme. It was not sex workers who was going to be doing this. No. Now, if you remember, Taylor had done his missionary work in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to import underage girls. Oh, that face. That was a whole body movement that just happened.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so they would import these girls, they would seduce the businessmen that were married, and then they would blackmail those businessmen into giving them money.
1 out of 5.
For everything involved in the plan.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for this next plan. Okay, so the next plan was not a plan to finance the self-help group.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it was a plan to assassinate the 15 leaders of the Mormon Church.
That's it?
Well, the plan was they were going to adopt Brazilian orphans.
Oh my God.
And train them, and they would be the assassins.
This guy really thought he was living in a book, didn't he?
Yeah, that's like some weird, like, Umbrella Academy weirdness.
He must have been really high.
Got really high and was like, we're going to adopt. I wonder if he thought, like, 15 orphans, like one for each leader.
Maybe.
I don't know. Don Godman said that he believed that by assassinating the leaders, he was fulfilling a prophecy from the Book of Mormon.
I'm going to give that one also a 2 out of 5.
A 2?
Yeah.
That feels really high for that plan. So finally, they decided that the most practical plan was the extortion.
Uh-huh.
And so Taylor wrote down a list of people that they could extort.
Okay.
And at this point, they realized, even if we extort this money, we need somebody to launder it.
Mm-hmm. Got to keep it clean.
We're not just going to be able to, like, go spend it.
Is that why it's called money laundering?
I think so, because it cleans it.
Never thought about it.
I didn't know what money laundering was. Money laundering is where you take money. Liz probably knows this, but just for anyone who doesn't know what money laundering is, you take money that is from an illegal source, and you put it into something legal, and then you're able to spend it legitimately because it has come from this legal source now.
So, like, if you ever hear of a business being a front,
yeah,
that's to launder.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. So Taylor's plan is he's going to meet a woman, trick her into, like, being his girlfriend, loving him, and use her to launder the money. And he does just that. He meets a woman, a 22-year-old woman named Selena Bishop.
Okay.
Selena was the daughter of a woman named Jennifer. Let me double check. Her name was Jennifer Villarin. And her father's name was, give me a second. I had this and then I was like, oh, that's not relevant. I'm not going to, like, keep it in. But
that's okay.
Her husband, Selena, was the daughter of Jennifer Villarin and blues guitarist Elvin Bishop.
Okay.
I had never heard of Elvin Bishop before, but that's not really surprising.
Yeah.
Selena had gone to an art school in PA. I'm not sure where or what one. At this point, I would say probably, like, the Pittsburgh Institute, because it was still around.
Yeah, maybe.
But she spent 2 years in Pennsylvania before she moved back home. And she got a job working at the Two Bird Cafe as a waitress.
Okay.
What?
I'm just curious about where this is going, that's all.
Okay. So she goes to a rave one night and meets Taylor Helzer.
Lucky her.
He was very charming. He was very tall. He wore all black and was smiley and cute, but was also kind of mysterious. And he told Selena Bishop that his name was Jordan.
Okay.
And not to worry about what his last name was.
No red flags there.
Yeah. She told her coworkers, I have met this guy. He's super cute. I've been hanging out with him. She eventually, like, became boyfriend, girlfriend. But her friends and family were like, hey, that's kind of creepy that, like, he won't tell you his last name or his home phone number or let you take pictures of him.
Yeah.
Like, what's that about?
I'm glad somebody said it.
Yeah. Olga Land, who was Selena Bishop's aunt, said, quote, he didn't want to meet any of us. From the people I talked to who he met, he gave them the creeps.
Sounds legit.
I guess. Selena Bishop was living with her mother, and in July, Taylor helped Bishop move to a studio apartment.
Okay.
Jennifer Villarin, her mother, had only ever met him, like, briefly. So she sort of, like, popped into the apartment when she knew that Selena wouldn't be home. But she knew that Taylor would be there. Actually, wait. I don't know that Selena wasn't home. I just assumed. Selena might have been home for this, but she knew Taylor was going to be there.
Okay.
So she dropped into, like, she claimed she needed to borrow a blouse, but purposely, like, just came in to see him.
Sure.
And to meet him.
I
Because,
would
like,
want to see who my kid was living with or dating or whatever.
They weren't living with each other.
Okay.
But as soon as she moved in, she did give Taylor a key to the apartment.
Mm-hmm. Stuff like this is why landlords won't give you more than one copy of a key anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Jennifer said to a friend, well, she said, quote, well, he's cute. He seems like a real nice kid. Unquote. And
we don't victim blame here, but
they didn't know. They just knew him as Jordan.
Yeah, but if all of my family and friends were like, dude, this is weird.
Yeah. I don't know, though, because you know how I am with red flags. I just ignore them. Everyone's like, Hannah, that's weird. And I'm like, but maybe it's like a normal thing.
Remember when you looked at me dead in the eyes and told me you were in control of a relationship? And I looked at you and said, no, you're not.
Yeah. I just ignore them. I'm not known for making the best decisions in love.
That is true.
That's the only reason I don't date people that might be murderers. I just make other bad choices.
Right. See, that's the thing, though. You do see murder everywhere. So if that person had been like, nah, I won't tell you my last name.
Yeah, that's something I wouldn't be okay with.
Right.
I was going back to find a thing in our chat recently, our chat with the girls, and I found a moment where I had sent a meme that was a bull, like at a bullfight, and it was me charging head forward into a bunch of red flags.
Yes.
And I sent it, and Susan showed it to Brittany, and Brittany went, it's Hannah. Yeah. And then she was like, Hannah sent it. So, like, we all know.
Yeah, but we still love ya.
Yeah. I have no, in the words of Candy Mossler, nobody's perfect. I think I got a good one now, though. Oh, we just got a message.
Oh.
On Instagram. It might be a bot.
It's spam.
Oh. We don't want your nudie pics. Or your MLM.
Life hack, my favorite podcast, Notorious LLC, just premiered, and they're giving away $2,500 to random listeners. Check out their profile to enter.
How are they your favorite podcast, but they just premiered?
And they have 10,000 followers, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Message us on Instagram.
But not if you're spam.
Not if you're spam, but if you're legit, we love to hear from you. So, at this point, I keep saying that. At this point. Okay. But Taylor says to Bishop, I'm about to inherit money from my grandma. However, you know I have an ex-wife. And I don't want her to get that money.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want it in my bank account.
Mm-hmm.
However, under California law, inherited money is not considered community property in a divorce. But she didn't know that. She's not a lawyer. It sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I would think it was reasonable.
Yeah. So what she does is she opens 4 bank accounts in her name. 4.
Jeez.
4 bank accounts in her name for him.
Okay.
Again, I think that was probably more for the money laundering point of things, but whatever.
Yeah.
She did start to, friends and family said she did start to become frustrated with him because he was being very secretive and also was having these mood swings. She said he would be like warm and affectionate and then cold and distant. She was also trying to pressure him to finalize his divorce from Anne.
Yeah.
Which, like, duh.
If I was dating somebody who was in the process, yeah.
Yeah. So she was getting frustrated. She was talking to her family about this. And that's on the record.
Mm-hmm.
So I told you he had written down a list of people that he could victimize from his time working at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. And his first choice was a man who lived in Walnut Creek, but when they went on Sunday, July 30th, and knocked on his door, he wasn't home.
Mm-hmm.
So they went to their second choices, Ivan and Annette Steinman.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to your first slide, or your next slide, rather.
Yeah.
Ivan was 85 and Annette was 78, and they had been married for 55 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they were living sort of close by to the Helzers and Don Godman.
They look really cute.
They're super cute and nice looking. Mm-hmm. They look wonderful. Their daughter's name was Nancy Hall, and she said that they just loved and trusted Taylor Helzer.
Mm-hmm.
She said that they would, he would come in and visit them. They would take him river rafting and, like, hang out. She said, quote, "I believe they were buddies. My father didn't have a son, so he liked the idea."
Mm-hmm.
And, like, he's your stockbroker. He's somebody that you trust with your money.
Right.
The dog is downstairs making noise.
That's okay.
So, on July 30th, the Helzer brothers put on suits and carried briefcases and knocked on the Godman's door.
Mm-hmm.
The Godman's door, sorry. Knocked on the Steinman's door.
Oh, okay.
These two. Don Godman was in their pickup truck waiting nearby.
Okay, got it.
When they came in, they had shackles that they had purchased at, the article I read said an adult bookstore. So like a sex shop. And so they put the shackles on them and brought them back to the house where they were renting. Then they forced them to drink a drink that had Rohypnol in it.
Ooh.
Rohypnol is a sedative. He made them write 2 checks, one for $33,000 and one for $67,000 to Selena Bishop, who didn't know anything about this.
Right.
Annette Steinman called her branch of Morgan Stanley Dean Witter and said that she wanted to liquidate her investments.
Mm-hmm.
George Cahoon, who was the one who took the call, said that she sounded nervous and, quote, "there was a level of tension there that was obvious."
Mm-hmm.
Their plan was that hopefully the two of them would overdose from the Rohypnol.
Right.
And would just die. But unfortunately, that wasn't what happened. They were still breathing, were in a coma but still breathing, and so they took them to the bathroom. Justin hit Ivan Steinman's head on the tile floor.
Oof.
And Taylor slit Annette's throat with a hunting knife.
Oh, God.
We know this is what happened because Don Godman saw the whole thing and testified. She said, quote, "I couldn't really believe that this was happening. The only thing I could do was pray that they would die so it would just be done with."
Mm-hmm.
And this is in her home. Like, they took them to their home.
Yeah.
To do this. So then, with a power saw, so chainsaw,
yeah,
Taylor had Justin dismantle the bodies. And the reason that Taylor couldn't do it was, quote, according to Don, quote, "Taylor said he had more important things to do, like sit and meditate and listen to the spirit."
Uh-huh.
Ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Afterward, all three of them knelt next to the body parts. And Taylor thanked the Steinmans for, quote, being willing to sacrifice their lives for a greater cause.
It's quite presumptuous, don't you think?
Yeah, they absolutely were not willing to sacrifice their lives. You didn't ask, they didn't consent to this. I will also say a lot of my information comes from an article written by Julia Shearers, which she wrote for True TV. I just wanted to credit her because a lot of the like quotes and stuff that I have come from her.
Okay.
They had the three of them had adopted some dogs from the pound, and their plan was to get rid of these body parts. They would feed them to the dogs.
No.
But the dogs were smarter than that, and they wouldn't eat them.
Thank God.
I know. That part made me feel sick.
Seriously.
So instead, that's why they ended up in the duffel bags.
Mm-hmm.
They put them in duffel bags, and they took the stepping stones from outside of their house and used those to weigh them down.
All right.
The next
Stupid,
day,
but okay.
the very next day, Dawn Godman went to, this is so stupid too, I don't know why she did this. Dawn Godman went to the bank with the money and told the teller that she wanted to deposit the checks, which totaled $100,000, right, into Selena Bishop's account. Godman, for whatever reason, was in a wheelchair and wearing a gold cowboy hat.
Why?
I don't know.
That's absolutely ridiculous. It's so ridiculous I can't even get that phrase out of my mouth.
That was my thing, is like, you don't want to be memorable. Why are you doing this?
Oh.
Yeah. She told the teller Selena was getting open heart surgery. So she needed to deposit this money that was from Selena's grandparents into the account so that Selena could pay for the operation.
Also, that's a very memorable thing to say.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. It's not every day that you have someone with $100,000 worth of checks being like, can I deposit this into someone else's account?
Yeah.
But I've never had to show ID to deposit a check into my account. You just give them a deposit slip. You can do it in the drive-through. Like,
I will say, nope, never mind. I deposited cash at the drive-through, but they didn't ask for my ID, but it was also cash. So like, and it wasn't $100,000. So
yeah, I've never even had $100,000.
No.
So I don't know what they do when you want to deposit that, but whatever. Apparently that money was cashed out, was taken out of the account, but the police won't say when or who cashed it. But according to the article that I just mentioned, it says, quote, sources close to the case theorize that Bishop cashed the checks for Taylor and then got cold feet and threatened to report the scheme to police.
Okay. That's the only thing so far that has made sense here.
Yeah. And I mean, like, if that's the case, like, she didn't know about the scheme. She just thought he was, like, keeping this money from his...
From his ex-wife.
From his ex-wife, exactly. So on August 2nd, 2000, Jordan, quote, Taylor, brought Selena to a bar that they would go to that was like halfway between their houses. They would go to this bar a lot, so like the bartender recognized them. The bartender's name was Matt King. He said that they came to this bar and that Selena was really annoyed because Taylor was late. And she made a joke to Matt King and said, I don't know why I go out with him. She was very excited because the next day they were going to go to Yosemite National Park for a camping trip.
Okay.
And so she was in a very good mood.
Also, her saying, I don't know why I go out with him. One of the smartest things I've heard so far.
Girl, same.
Like, finally, some sense.
Yeah. But again, I think it was like a joke. Like, I don't even
Yeah.
know why I go out with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they left the bar, and that was the last time she was seen by
Oops.
anyone, basically.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. A
So
neighbor.
was the money cashed out before that happened?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Well, they won't say when. The police won't say when, so I don't know.
But probably.
But probably. So we know what happened here.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, Dawn testified.
Oh, I thought we just knew because it was so obvious.
No, we knew because Dawn testified.
Okay.
Kay Shaman was a neighbor of the Helzers and Dawn Godman, and said that she saw a 1984 Honda Accord drive up, and that Taylor and a young woman with long brown hair got out, and they went inside. They had a kiss, and they went inside.
Okay.
Then the rest of what we know is from Dawn.
Okay.
Dawn said that Taylor offered to give Selena a massage, which, like,
Yes.
yes, please. Ryan just cracked my back and gave me a massage last night, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
He took her to the
wouldn't
family
have to
room.
ask me twice.
Yeah, right. He took her to the family room, and she laid on the floor for her massage.
Mm-hmm.
And while she was having her back rubbed, Justin Helzer, Taylor's brother, walked into the room with a hammer.
Oh.
We have already discussed how much I hate the thought of being killed with a hammer,
Yep.
and why I can't find our hammer,
Yep.
because I hide it.
Hide it from
Because
the
I'm
murderers
insane.
and yourself.
Because I'm insane. Justin hit her in the head with a hammer several times, which cracked her skull,
Right.
obviously.
Yeah.
She was still alive after all of this. And according to Godman, this is the worst. According to Godman, Taylor pulled her hair out of her face and held her head up and said, quote, "Spirit says you get to know this isn't a dream,"
Oh, gosh.
before he slit her throat with the hunting knife.
Oh, my God.
Don Godman said in court that Taylor had planned the entire time to kill Selena Bishop and that he had no feelings for her.
Mm-hmm.
All he wanted from her was the bank accounts.
Right.
Honestly, again, this whole thing is just terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But while she was getting nervous about, like, while she was talking to her family about, like, being worried that he was being so secretive, and he was planning this camping trip to Yosemite, everything, all of that, he had already bought the chainsaw, and he had already bought the duffel bags.
Mm-hmm. Jeez.
That's disgusting. Like, the thought of, like, she thinks that this is a legitimate relationship.
Yeah.
Your next slide here. This is Selena. She's beautiful, and she was young.
Yeah.
22 is so young.
And she was a mom. I mean, she didn't have her kid, right?
No, that was Dawn.
Oh, I'm getting things mixed up. I'm sorry.
No, Selena was 22 years old and working as a waitress.
That's right. Okay. You know me.
I do. Here's the thing. Jennifer Valerian, her mother, had met Taylor.
Right.
And so Taylor was worried.
Oh, man.
Taylor was worried that she had seen him, she had met him, and also she was worried that, or he was worried that Selena might have told her mother, like, where he lived and that she was opening these bank accounts for him.
Uh-huh.
Because, like, that's something I would tell my mom.
Yeah. And my mom would say, run, you idiot.
Yeah. Well, like, I would say to my, like, you know, Ryan's grandfather died in December.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would tell my mom if I was like, Ryan's about to get, like, a bunch of money, but his ex-wife might take it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so far out of the realm of anything.
I know.
Like,
if
Ryan was going to inherit money from his pap, I don't think I would say anything to anyone. I don't think there's any reason for me to be, like, telling anybody that.
Right.
Unless it was, like, I was telling you guys, like, we're about to do something with his inheritance money.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I don't know. I don't talk about finances with most people.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's the kind of thing, like, I would tell my mom. Like, if Ryan and I didn't live together, she would know she would know where Ryan lives.
Yeah. I mean, like, when Scott and I were dating, the first time I went to visit his parents, even, my parents wanted their addresses before we went.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, like, we've talked before about, like, I like somebody to know where I am if I'm going somewhere. So, like, one time I hadn't been home to see my family in a while. And I was like, I'm going to surprise them. I'm going to come home for the weekend and surprise them. But then I got to thinking, I have to drive on I-80. Like, I don't want somebody just thinking that I'm, like, home in Clarion. And so I called my mom and I was like, I wanted it to be a surprise, but I am coming to see you guys this weekend. I just wanted you to know in case anything happened to me.
Yeah.
So Taylor decided that Jennifer Valerian also had to die. He had also known that Jennifer knew that they were going to be going to Yosemite.
Right.
Or thought they were going to be going to Yosemite because Selena had asked her to house sit.
Mm-hmm.
So on August 4th, they went to Bishop's house to kill Jennifer Valerian.
Mm-hmm.
However, Jennifer was not alone.
Oh.
She was with, something say her friend, something say her boyfriend. Regardless.
Somebody.
James Gamble was also there.
Okay.
And the two of them were asleep in Selena's bed.
Mm-hmm.
So Taylor let himself into the house with his key.
Right.
He, sorry, I'm getting likes on my cosplay Instagram.
That happens to me sometimes out of the blue.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
He let himself in with his key and went toward the bedroom. And then he used a Beretta 9mm and shot both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, James Soliday, who was the upstairs neighbor and Selena's landlord, he was woken by the sound of gunshots.
Go figure.
Yeah. The neighbors always hear.
Yeah.
He called police and said that he had heard gunshots, footsteps, and the getaway car driving away. And he told police, quote, "I cannot believe this is happening. I can't believe this happened in my home."
Yeah.
Your next slide is Jennifer Valerian. Looks a lot like Selena.
Oh, yeah.
And the next one is Jim Gamble, who just looks like the nicest man.
You know, he's in like a field of irises.
I know. He's got a little mustache. He just looks so nice.
Yeah.
Ugh.
You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
He reminds me of the old man in the Pixar short who plays chess with himself.
Kinda. I don't think he has a mustache. But he does have the glasses. He doesn't have a mustache. His name is Jerry. The man who plays the chess with himself.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think that's called Jerry's Game.
Is it? I didn't know what it was called.
So at this point, I keep saying it. I need to quit.
I know. You're fine.
The Steinman's daughter, Nancy Hall, reported her parents missing. This is 2 days later. They hadn't answered their phone, and neighbors were noticing newspapers weren't being picked up.
If ever there was a reason to order a newspaper subscription.
Yeah, exactly. So she reported them missing, and then Selena Bishop's friends reported her missing as well because she wasn't coming for her shift to the cafe. While they were all being reported missing, Kay Shaman, the neighbor to the Helzer brothers and Don Godman, watched as the truck... She was apparently such a really nosy neighbor because she saw a truck pull away from the house with a trailer towing jet skis and said that there were duffel bags in the truck bed and then another in the lap of the person sitting in the passenger seat.
Oh, okay.
Surveillance cameras that were like, I assume like traffic cameras, also saw a similar vehicle crossing a bridge over the San Joaquin River.
I hate the idea that one of them was sitting with a body part in a bag on their lap.
Yeah. Especially because, like, I'm sure 9 of them would fit in the bed of a truck. Like, what are you doing?
I don't know.
Yeah. Horrible. Police found on August 6th, they found the Steinman's minivan. Just, like, parked in a neighborhood in Oakland.
Okay.
Inside the minivan, they found a chainsaw and a sawhorse.
Ooh.
And they dusted it for fingerprints and found fingerprints from Justin Helzer and Don Godman. Later on the 6th, the Helzers called a professional carpet cleaner to come and get a large red stain out of the carpet.
Tell me you're a killer without telling me you're a killer.
Well, while Hazim Bilal, who was the carpet cleaner, was there doing the work, Justin and Dawn were in the kitchen eating a snack and watching him. Bilal said as he was looking at it, he said, maybe it's Kool-Aid. And Justin said, quote, yeah, it's Kool-Aid. We spilled some drinks.
A lot of drinks.
Kool-Aid's also not that red.
Also, dried blood turns brown.
I don't know if it would have been brown this soon. It's only been like 3 days.
I don't know how long it takes.
Yeah. So the next morning, sheriff deputies went to their house with a search warrant. They wanted to find the gun.
Yeah.
Because that's immediately the murder weapon.
Right.
They couldn't find the gun, but they did find ecstasy, hallucinogenic mushrooms, and drug paraphernalia. So they were like, dope, we can arrest these 3.
Yeah.
Because drugs. While the investigators were distracted, Taylor, like, ran out of the house. He went over backyard fences and went into his neighbor's house. His neighbor's name is Mary Mizoki.
Is this the neighbor who snooped on him?
No, that's Nancy Shaman.
Oh, okay.
No, this was Mary Mizoki. CH in Italian makes a k sound. Okay, Mizoki. He threatened her. He demanded that she give him a weapon. And said, if you tell anybody, if you call the cops, I'll kill you. So she gave him a steak knife and a pair of sewing scissors.
Over my dead body would I give somebody my sewing scissors.
You're not going to use my sewing scissors as a weapon.
Absolutely not.
He did use either the steak knife or the sewing scissors to cut off his ponytail. and he changed into Mary Mizochi's husband's clothing before leaving. However, they caught up with him a few blocks away. Like, it was not hard to find him.
He doesn't seem all that smart.
No. However, though, when they put him into the cop car, he jumped out of the back window and they had to get him again.
He's spry.
Yeah. Why was the window down in the first place?
Beats the heck out of me.
Yeah. Very strange. So they started searching the rest of the home, and they found some videotaped newscasts about Selena Bishop's disappearance, as well as handcuffs and leg irons in Justin's pickup truck.
Because, everybody has leg irons in their pickup truck.
Maybe he's just kinky. You don't keep that stuff in your truck.
I would call that.
Yeah.
Well,
so
he
then
was going to Yosemite, so I mean,
well, that's Justin.
portable.
That's the brother.
Oh. I thought they were all supposedly going.
No, I don't know. But that day, 2 more duffel bags were found. One had a head, one had a torso.
Okay.
They basically had to sort through these bags and figure out who was who, and it was like really emotionally taxing.
Like a disgusting, horrifying puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. They used DNA and they used dental records to identify them. Paul Smith, who was the county coroner, said, quote, "The remains we've found have been dismembered and commingled in the bags. It's pretty horrific."
Yeah, I would imagine.
He speculated that they were mixed together to make it harder to identify them.
Maybe.
While Taylor was in jail waiting on his court date, he tried to sell his story to different magazines for $400,000, and no magazine wanted it.
The audacity.
The other thing is, there is a website that has true crime auctions, like paraphernalia.
Ooh.
And there's so much stuff of his on it.
Really?
I found while looking into this.
That is that whole concept just ugh, no thank you.
Yeah, that skeeves me out. So at this juncture, in December of 2001, they had their preliminary hearing. And the physical evidence that they had were receipts, basically. So they had the receipts for the saw, receipts for the shackles, receipts for the sex masks, receipts for ski masks.
Whoa.
Not sex masks.
That's a far departure.
Yes. And they also found, like, all of Taylor's writings about being a prophet, including his, quote, plans of action, which were all of these plans, yeah.
We love a diary.
Basically, a diary, a manifesto.
Yeah.
Crazy ramblings of a self-proclaimed prophet.
I was wondering if he was going to have, like, recorded.
The 3 of them were charged with 18 felonies, including murder, extortion, and kidnapping.
Okay.
Then a woman named Deborah McClanahan came forward and said, I provided I provided an alibi for the 3 of them the night the Steinmans were killed.
Okay.
McClanahan knew Godman because they had met at a church dance in December of 1997. And they'd become friends. McClanahan is a Wiccan. And so she had taught Dawn some tenets of Wiccanism and taught her spells and things like that. And on the night that the Steinmans were killed, Taylor had asked her to buy them 4 tickets to the film X-Men and tell investigators that the 4 of them had gone for dinner and a movie.
Okay.
when she realized what had happened, she went to police.
Yeah. Smart. Hello.
Yeah.
First actually smart person we have.
She gave police a safe that the three had stored in her apartment. Inside the safe, there was a 9mm handgun. Also were drugs and personal property that belonged to the Steinmans.
Okay.
The drugs did not belong to the Steinmans. The way I said that sounded like it might have. They did not.
No, I knew what you meant.
She told the court that she lied out of, quote, loyalty, fear, love, disbelief, and denial. So this is when Don Godman was like, okay, we've got so much evidence. If I plead guilty to 5 counts of murder and testify against the brothers, can I not have the death penalty? And they said, yes, you will get a sentence of 38 years to life in prison.
I mean, all things considered, that's quite a good deal.
Yes. During the trials, the Helzer family was just distraught. These were obviously not the boys that they had raised. They were very upset because obviously they had a history of mental illness in the family, so they were blaming themselves. One thing said that at certain points, the family members of the victims would pass tissues to the Helzer family, which I think is beautiful.
It really is. Because, I mean, I feel like they're innocent bystanders. Like, at this point, they technically shouldn't have been in contact with them anymore.
Yeah.
So,
It feels like, I think a lot of times it feels like the family of the accused and the victims' families are so painted as opposition or like on 2 different teams. But I think the fact is like, no, none of them are winning here.
right. And,
You know?
and to me, like, as long as you're not saying that your kids are innocent, because they're clearly not innocent,
Yeah.
you know, then it's not their fault, really.
One of Taylor's ex-girlfriends, she testified that they had gone on a trip to Tijuana in November of 1999 to buy Rohypnol.
Okay.
And that she testified, quote, he had told her of his plan, quote, to involve some girl and make her feel like she was the love of her life. He was the love of her life.
Yikes.
Selena Bishop had written a letter before her death. And in it she said, quote, I have everything I need right here. I don't know when I've ever been happier in my life. Yeah.
Wow.
In March 2004, Taylor Helzer entered a guilty plea, which surprised everybody. And was just like, yeah, I'm guilty.
Do you know if at that point he started receiving mental health care?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Just curious.
Then on June 16th, Justin Helzer was convicted of 11 counts, including murder, extortion, and kidnapping. He tried to plead not guilty by reason of insanity. His lawyer basically said that he was mentally ill, and that he was there was a woman during Taylor's trial. Her boyfriend lived with them, I guess, briefly, and said that one time she had went to the house and Justin was on the floor in the kitchen on his hands and knees eating off of a plate.
Like a dog.
Like a dog. Like he was like mentally ill too. So they were trying to say that like he was mentally ill, he was taken in by his brother. He sincerely believed that his brother was a prophet. And they said, quote, Justin was not able to comprehend that the homicides he committed were morally wrong. And that didn't work.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
He during the sentencing, basically had, like, an outburst. He said, quote, "I want this life to be over. I want to die." His mother started, like, weeping loud, quote, weeping loudly. The judge told the jurors to leave the room. And Justin said to the judge, quote, "I'm just being truthful. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude. I just want to be free. I want freedom or death." On August 4th, 2004, which was 4 years after the murders were committed to the day, he was sentenced to death for 3 of the murders and life in prison for his role in the other 2. And then December 15th, Taylor Helzer was given the death sentence for all 5 of the murders. Then, we're not done yet.
There's more.
I'm sorry, there's just a little bit more left.
No, it's okay. I'm just like, there are really no winners in this. Like, this is so bad all around.
I have to find exactly when this happened.
Sure.
But they were both in jail. And then in April of 2013, Justin, the younger brother, used a sheet tied to his cell bars to hang himself. 2 years before that, he had attempted suicide again. Like 2 years before that was his first suicide attempt. And that suicide attempt had left him blind.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was the final attempt. Killed him.
What could he have done that left him blind?
I don't know. Maybe he tried to hang himself and they got to him first.
Wow.
But he had like a lack of oxygen for a certain amount of time. I'm not sure.
Wow.
But so Justin is dead. Dawn is serving a 38-year sentence, and Taylor also has a life or a death sentence as well. Your next slide here. This is a book about the case written by Robert Scott. It's called Unholy Sacrifice. I didn't read it, but I wanted to include it because anytime there's a book about it, I like to include it. And that's them. That's the Helzer brothers.
I have to admit, I thought that there were going to be like more people involved. Like I thought that he was going to be farther into like creating a following, basically.
Oh yeah.
Just like initially.
No.
I'm glad he wasn't, because God.
Me too. Can you imagine?
No.
Can you imagine how many people he would have gotten to?
Right. Yeah, that's a lot.
And then the last slide, you don't have to look at it. It's just my sources.
Yeah.
For me. But that's them.
Wow.
What are your thoughts?
Boy, mental health care is important.
Yeah. It sure is.
Like, this is one of those cases where, yes, he's still guilty, but I wonder how this guy's life could have been different if he had had proper care.
He sounds to me like a narcissist.
True.
So I think he would have done something like this either way.
So do you think he was making up all of it? You don't think there was any bit of like voices, schizophrenia, anything like that? You think he was making it all up?
No. I think he made up all of it. I think he was just like, I'm a prophet.
Okay.
Follow me.
Okay.
I don't think
me and my greasy hair.
Yeah, I don't think he sincerely thought that he was just like a stinky, stinky prophet.
Wow.
Would you like to talk about what we're reading and recommending?
Yeah. that's what you get since it's the evening.
I know.
Yeah,
We've been recording for 2 hours.
Have we? Yeah.
I noticed earlier today, my cousin Mandy asked how she could listen to our podcast, so I was sending her links. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that season 2, our episodes are a lot longer.
Are they?
Yeah. They're all over an hour.
Well, that's not a horrible thing.
It's not. I don't mind long podcasts.
No, me neither.
Reading and recommending. You're getting an Old Faithful?
Yeah, because it's only been like 4 days since we recorded last, so I don't have I haven't started something new. Give me a minute. I've got one. So I haven't read it yet. I do have it. It is a memoir. Mm-hmm. And it is called Teresa Rocco, Pittsburgh's first female assistant police chief.
Ooh, that sounds neat.
And I believe she wrote it herself. Yeah, she wrote it herself. So Teresa Rocco is also the author. The reason that this is on my list to read is because there is a missing persons case that my mom is interested in. Mm-hmm. And this is the police chief who was in charge of it.
Oh.
And she claims, because it was a cold case, it was never solved, the girl was never found. She went missing. She attended the same grade school that my parents and me and my brother all attended.
Mm-hmm. I wondered if this was the case.
It is. And she said that she believes that she solved it, but that she she believes she knows who did it, but she couldn't say, basically, whether for lack of evidence, like hard evidence or what have you. But so that's been on my list to read because I remember going with my mom to the library as a kid so that she could go through the microfiche to find newspaper articles about that missing persons case.
Yep.
So that's what I'm going to recommend today.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let us know if you read it.
Yeah, I'm going to see if there's an audiobook.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
If there's not, I can read it into a recording for you.
All right.
I'll read it.
Okay.
I'm going to recommend one of my favorite books. I just remembered this. Just remembered about this book because when my cousin Mandy and I were talking about the podcast, she had originally texted me to ask me about books. I had given her these books to read, but I love the Swedish author Fredrik Backman. Mm-hmm. I actually own this book in English and in Swedish. Your brother got it for me when he was in Sweden. Thank you, Kyle. It is called A Man Called Ove. So it's OVE. It is so, so, so good. I have the Goodreads spiel little synopsis here. My mom, this came up because a client of my mother's came into the pharmacy and said, I loved these books. Take them and read them. And if you like them, just keep it. Don't even worry about it. Goodreads says, a grumpy yet lovable man finds his solitary world turned on its head when a boisterous young family moves in next door. Meet Ove. He's a curmudgeon, the kind of man who points at people he dislikes as if they were burglars caught outside his bedroom window. He has staunch principles, strict routines, and a short fuse. People call him the bitter neighbor from hell, but must Ove be bitter because he doesn't walk around with a smile plastered to his face all the time? Mm-hmm. Behind the cranky exterior, there is a story and sadness. So when one November morning, a chatty young couple with 2 chatty young daughters move in next door and accidentally flatten Ove's mailbox, it is the lead-in to a comical and heartwarming tale of unkempt cats, unexpected friendship, and the ancient art of backing up a U-Haul. All of which will change one cranky old man and a local residents association to their very foundations. Mm-hmm. It is so good. I laughed so hard. I cried so hard. I've never read a Fredrik Backman book that I did not cry while reading. But his stories are so great because all of his characters feel very real. And they're also like very eclectic and weird in a very real way. So that's what I'm going to recommend. I will say a trigger warning to anybody who like suicide or plot points around suicide. If that's going to trigger you, I wouldn't recommend this book. But it's very, very, very good. We loved it a lot.
I see you rated it 5 stars on Goodreads.
I did. I would have rated it more if they had more stars.
I think didn't
Because
they make a movie?
They did. So there's a Swedish movie, and there's been talk about them making an English movie about it. So we watched the Swedish film. I liked it, but I have very specific people in my head for very specific parts. Like, this person in my head is played by this person.
Yeah.
So the man who plays Ove in the movie, his name is, I know it, but I have just forgotten it. His name is Rolf Lassgård. He did a very good job, but he was not my Ove.
Okay.
But I do recommend seeing the movie. I do recommend reading the book. It's very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when that was on our New York bestseller list for a really long time at the library when the movie came out.
And honestly, like, bless your brother who had to go into these Swedish bookstores and be like, do you have this book? And it's like, so I have En man som heter Ove. I have the actual Swedish version of it as well. And I treasure it. It's on like my section of like my favorite books.
That's awesome.
In my bookshelf.
He can be nice sometimes.
He can be.
He's
like,
listening saying, hey.
Yeah. He texted me while he was in Sweden, and he was like, obviously I can't go to Sweden and not bring home something for Hannah.
Yeah.
Like, I was so jealous. I was like, of all the places in the world that work could send you, why would it send you to my favorite country in the world?
Right.
Elizabeth.
Yes, Hannah.
Where can the people find us?
You can find us across all social media platforms. We are Briefcase Crimes on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. You can listen to full episodes anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. If you would like to support us monetarily, you can buy us a coffee on ko-fi.com/briefcasecrimes, or you can purchase any of our book recommendations or the books that we talk about on the show from bookshop.org. They support local bookstores by donating 75% of profits to them, and they support us through our affiliate link by donating 10% of the profits of any book purchased on our link as well.
Very well said.
Thank you.
I will also add, we just turned on listener support as an option on Anchor.
That's right.
I'm not sure how it works.
Me neither.
I'm not sure how it works, but if you know how it works or you want to check it out, our Anchor link is always in our link tree.
That's right. Yeah.
And would you like to wrap this up?
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.